In a quiet town stood an old, abandoned house that everyone called the Whiting House. It had tall, broken windows, vines crawling up the cracked walls, and a dark history that sent shivers through the bravest hearts. Rumors spread about a ghost named Clara who wandered the halls on moonlit nights. Clara had lived in the house many years ago, and her story was one of sadness and loss. She was a young girl who loved to paint, filling the walls of her once bright home with colors of joy. But tragedy struck when a terrible storm forced her family to leave. They never returned. Clara, heartbroken, waited for days, believing they would come back, but they never did. One night, in her despair, she picked up her brush one last time and painted a bright white door on the main wall, hoping it would lead her family back to her. But instead of drawing them near, it trapped her spirit within the house. Many who dared to enter felt a chilling breeze and heard her soft weeping echoing through the empty rooms. One evening, a brave boy named Tom, known for exploring haunted places, decided to spend a night in the Whiting House. He heard the stories but felt curious. Armed with just a flashlight, he stepped inside. The air was thick like fog, and a strange coldness wrapped around him. Pictures hung crooked on the walls, and dust danced in the narrow beam of his light. Tom felt a shiver run down his spine, but pressed on. He climbed the creaky stairs, each step groaning as if warning him to leave. At the top, he found a bedroom with a small window. Moonlight spilled in, illuminating a canvas that stood against the wall. It was empty, but beside it lay brushes and a palette, old and dried. Tom's heart raced. He could feel Clara's presence in the room, her passion lingering like a faded dream. Suddenly he heard a whisper, soft and sorrowful. "Help me," it pleaded. He froze, the hairs on his arms standing, tall. Was it his imagination? Or was Clara really here? Before he could decide, the air grew colder, and the paintbrushes on the floor began to move on their own, sliding across the wooden floor. Tom backed away, his heart pounding. "Leave me alone," he shouted, but the brushes swirled faster, drawing in the dust like a storm. Then, amid the madness, he saw Clara. She stood by the canvas. Her form was translucent, pale like mist, her eyes filled with tears that glimmered like stars. "I can't, leave," she whispered again, her voice echoing in the darkness. "I need you to finish my painting." Tom's breath quickened. How could he help her? He didn't know how to paint, but as he watched her sadness, he felt a strange pull, as if her sorrow wrapped around him like a tight hug. He stepped forward, and the brushes stopped moving. Clara looked hopeful, her ghostly figure glowing just a bit brighter. Heart pounding, Tom picked up a brush. He dipped it in white paint and began to fill the canvas. As he painted, he felt memories flooding in. Colors of laughter and family filled his mind. He saw Clara's family, happy faces full of love, and her warm smile. With each stroke, the house felt alive again. The coldness began to lift, the shadows in the corners fading. Clara watched, her eyes sparkling with light. Tom painted a door, just like the one Clara had created years ago. Bright, beautiful, and shimmering in the moonlight. He finished just as the first rays of dawn broke through the window. Clara smiled, a look of peace washing over her face. "Thank you," she whispered softly, her form starting to fade. "Now I can go home." Tom stepped back, watching as she dissolved into a million tiny sparkles, filling the room with warmth and light. The house felt different now. It was no longer a place of sorrow. As he stepped outside, the sun rose high, spilling golden light everywhere. The Whiting House stood proud, the door bright and clear, free from its haunted past. Tom left, his heart lighter, knowing he had helped Clara find her peace. The whispers of the forgotten house turned to laughter, and a feeling of joy replaced the sadness, marking the start of a new story. All thanks to the ghost who found her freedom through a simple act of kindness. I hope you liked today's story. If you're interested for more horror story like this every night, subscribe this channel